Hey, welcome to the Bryce podcast. Haven't done that in a while. 9-ish months since that's happened. Yeah, the last episode was released back in June. It is now April of 2025. So almost a year. Um, yeah, it's been a while. The episode that you're about to see was recorded on July 3rd of 2024. And all that happened was some technical difficulties, and then life hit. I mean, we had a hard drive problem, and then once that fixed itself, school hit, and everything just got crazy from there. So, um, basically, I'm finally taking this out the vault after being able to edit it. I had to get it from my phone or one of the video tracks from my phone to my computer here to edit it with the other two audio or video tracks that I had. And um, I had to, get the whole hard drive situation fixed, or I couldn't edit anything. So, you know, been gone for 9 months. Apologies, but we're back now. I guess that's all. I guess that's all that matters. But the guest that you're gonna see here, Bryce Barnett, shout out him. He was very vital in terms of this whole podcast, and we actually used this episode as a launching pad for us to start an idea that was brewing for a while, which was doing a podcast together. So that started at our school. So now we have a radio show slash podcast together. And this episode has actually helped us to become much closer as friends and learn a lot more about each other, which helped us to not only start that, but now we're doing journalism together as well at our school. So that's really cool. And yeah, basically, I have another episode involved that I'll be releasing in a couple of days, um, assuming that no more technical difficulties will hit. Golly. But yeah, so basically just a little life update before we get into it. Um, this was kind of like my second media stint after graphic design that got me into the whole creative space. Now I'm into photography, videography, the whole nine, obviously journalism, like I mentioned, and just doing endeavors based off of those media outlets. So it's really cool. Just thank you for all the support and the curiosity. I've been getting a lot of questions on when is the next episode dropping, Bryce. Here it is. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and I enjoyed editing it over however many months that was. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and yeah, see you next time. Welcome to the Bryce Bubbles podcast. We're on episode 3 here, and we got our first guest. It's a very special event, and he's a basketball player, a writer and author. He also has his own podcast. It's um it's a great honor and pleasure to have my first guest, Bryce Barnett.
Yay! What's going on, guys?
Yep. So um we bring in Bryce today with a plethora of questions.
hmm
Quite a lot of questions. We started the podcast with much help from Bryce. Um, much help that kind of set me up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts that you can see here. Uh, it was very important, or he was very vital to the podcast. So y'all should be thanking him. But yeah, Bryce. So my first question for you that I would like to get into is
Go ahead.
your journey to Christianity, right? So, like, how long have you been a Christian, right?
Okay, so um, hmm, I will kind of go back to when I was around seven,
7, okay,
7 or 8.
right,
I didn't grow up in a Christian household. My
uh-huh,
family obviously believed in God,
right,
but we never regularly went to church.
okay,
I would say around 13, 14 is when I started to take it serious.
Okay.
I started to learn more about Jesus Christ.
Right.
But I still thought of him as some sort of deity. I still thought of him as some sort of just like, I guess, historical figure. I
Mhm.
never really thought of him as my Lord and Savior.
Got you.
Uh, 15, 16, I kind of fell back, um, mainly around the age of 15. I started to deal with a lot of issues, mainly centering around just irritability, anger, and then lust. It was a really hard struggle for me because a lot of people always told me that it was normal. I was becoming a teenager,
Yeah.
so it was normal to kind of feel like these sexual hormones towards, I guess, females, or to feel angry or to
Right.
feel irritable. And then I also kind of clouded that, also surrounded my mind with that, with music,
Mm.
uh, listening just to a lot of music that promoted murder, robbery,
Mm.
just a whole lot of stuff. But around 16 is when I started to pick it back up. Now currently, I'm doing better. Not all the way there yet, but I have to realize that it doesn't really come from me. This journey isn't for me, it's for the glory of God.
Right.
Me waking up every day and kind of making that choice to really read my Bible, making that choice to rely on God for all of the choices that I make is very imperative in my life.
Mm.
So that's really the short summary of my journey.
Right. I can definitely relate to some of those points.
Mm,
Becoming a teenager definitely can have its points where it's like you're you're having obviously changes in like how you develop as a person. So like
mm,
having those anger situations where sometimes you can transition into a brat or out from a brat. You
yeah,
know, for me personally, I transitioned from like out of a brat because I was like a brat when I was a kid.
yeah,
Like I would be like running around the house doing stupid stuff
yeah,
and like pissing off my parents. But then, I get to a teenager, get more matured, right? But at the same time, you can get more stressed out because, those things are coming into your body and stuff like that. So it's definitely a thing that's relatable to in my perspective. I feel like those I feel like most people become Christians when they're teenagers. I feel like more than kids, at least like from like public schools and stuff.
mm,
Like not necessarily because I went to a private school when I was younger. Like I went to a Catholic school, so like I was already like it was drilled in my mind, and I'm fine with that. It wasn't like I was forced or anything. I kind of made my own decision.
mm,
But for the kids that go to like public schools when they're younger, they're obviously not taught that because of separation of church and state and stuff like that. So when you have a kid that's coming up and then all of a sudden they're having that anger and stuff, they're trying to find an outlet to uh to put or to go to make sure that they can resolve the problems that they might be having. A lot
mm.
of people find that in Christianity. So I wanted to ask you what led you to Christianity.
Um, Having to rely on somebody for my issues,
Right.
and really, when I would have these sort of issues, like, I would always go to my parents. My
Hmm.
parents were my first choice.
Right.
I've always grew up knowing that my parents were very therapeutic to my issues.
Mm.
Whenever I was mad, whenever I was hurt, whenever I was sad, just dealing with anything in my life, I remembered, hey, I have two parents that love me very, very much with their whole heart, and I could go to them. But I have to realize that, and this was a tough pill to swallow, that my parents are earthly parents. They're temporary.
Right.
I have a heavenly father that lives for eternity and can care about me 100% all the way, 100 times more than my parents on earth. So when I got to that point of realization, that really led me to discovering more about Jesus Christ. I was like, oh wow, like, I have someone who cares about me more than my earthly parents, and who I can rely on, who I can talk to, who I can pray to. It's astounding. Like it's amazing for
Right. I find that when uh when I have problems, I obviously go to God,
me.
but sometimes I like fall victim to this too. A lot of people can forget about God in those low points. You know, there's
I've had those moments.
right where it's kind of a spectrum because some people they go to God in their low points. There's some people they get something from God when like after being in that low point, then thankful for it. But when they're in that low point, they don't go to God. You know what I mean? So it's usually it's the former where like they ask God for something and they don't end up thanking Him for it. Like when it happens, and I feel like I can be on both sides of the spectrum. And for me, I feel like I can, I like when I'm making a mistake, like I could tend to go to my friends before I go to God sometimes. And I feel like, or like even my family before I go to God. And that's something that, it's not something you want to do. Obviously, you want to, because he's the one that's actually going to be able to make something happen. And going to your friends is only going to be like a therapeutic type of session where it's like face to face. So like obviously you can have the uh the ability to have somebody that you can directly talk to, which is
Yeah,
like it's cool because it's not like a spiritual thing where it's like you have to you know that he's listening but you can't like see him. So it's like even if you have faith and like
yeah,
that he's there, it can still be the concept where it's I can't see him, so it's not the same effect that it would have on me if I'm talking to somebody that's right in front of me, you know?
yeah. I feel like that's where doubt comes from.
Right.
Um, I mean, that was a very good valid point. Like whenever I'm talking to my friends, and obviously God sends people that you can also talk to,
Hmm.
but He also wants you to know that He comes first.
Hmm.
He isn't after your friends. He isn't after your parents. He's first. Everything else is comes after that. Uh, I would say that yeah, like when I'm talking to somebody about my issues, it seems easier
Right.
because usually I would probably get an immediate, response. But the thing is, with God, I would say the primary factor is patience.
Hmm.
Having patience about His response. He may not do it immediately. He
Right.
may not do it in a year, 2 years, 3 years. It's all about His timing, though, because His timing is far, far better than ours.
Yeah. And that's something I struggle with a lot, just trusting his timing, because like you know you can have like in the last episode how I was talking about grief and stuff, right?
Mhm.
You can have you can have a potential situation where something doesn't go your way, then you're like, why didn't this go my way? But then God's like, something's happened 5 years later that if you
Yeah.
had this, then it wouldn't be going my way, which is more important than your way.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's very very important to like try to understand, even though like that's like one of the hardest things to understand,
Yeah.
especially in like grieving times too. And uh speaking of grieving, like so when you have those like down times that I was speaking of earlier, right? That can like lead to not only adversity through like with yourself, but you can get adversity for others where it's like where's your God now type of thing. So I want to ask you if you've ever experienced like like strong adversity or like any adversity from others like your friends or like even strangers that like might have tried to like knock you off your path with God.
Um, as far as I know, there have been, I would say, a little amounts of situations. Mainly like when I'm dealing with adversity from other people, and if somebody were to say, "Oh, like your God doesn't exist. Why do you believe in him? It's so stupid. This whole believing in God thing, it's so ridiculous." I feel like my main argument would probably be like just look at who we are as a human race. Like we do so many evil things to each other. Um like like the act of murder it shocks me to my core. The act of really just fighting, it still kind of shocks me, and it seems like we've all done something wrong. Even even if somebody were to say, even if there were a large majority of opinions surrounding our character, and it's, oh, this, he's such a positive guy, he's never mad, he's never sad, he's never this, he's never that. You still sin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we've still fallen short. So the thing is, with God, it's like God has a absolute perfect standard, and we'll never get to that because we were born into sin. But the thing is, we have to come to terms that we are weak, and I feel like it's a hard thing for people to accept, that we are
Especially
weak.
with like ego and arrogance that could come
Yeah,
through.
like, for a while it was hard for me to accept. Like, dang, I want to be perceived as strong.
Right.
I want to be perceived as, this macho masculine guy, but
Right.
it's
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
I have my moments of weakness. I'm weak. Like, I have my moments of sin. I have my moments of irritability where I just lose my self control with a lot of people. When they provoke me, or when they say something offensive. But I also have to realize that I probably hurt some people too. I
Hmm.
probably said something very offensive to somebody
Right.
in my past. Like, I could remember off the top of my head, like, not even uh 2 3 years ago, when I said something offensive to somebody. So it's like, we're all weak, and we all need help. We all need a savior.
Right. And that's very important because the ability to understand that you can't do it on your own. You know, you I feel like we were kind of born into a state where it's like you even with like Adam and Eve, like they kind of like they were alone. They were like halfway alone because like they had God, but he wasn't like physically there, right?
Mhm.
He was there in spiritual, which has us all think like if someone's not right in front of you, a lot of people, even if they have faith, like some of the strongest faith that you might have ever seen, some of those people might generally not trust that he's there at all times, because if you can't see him, it's hard to fully believe every like even when you're in the darkest, deepest like moments of your life, it can be hard to believe that someone's there trying to help you when you're in such a deep spot. So that leads us to our verse of the day. Luke 9:23, verse 24. It says, Then he said to them all, we got the red text again, just like last episode. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and daily and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will save it. So I'm gonna ask you in a second, but for me, that's saying when you try to do it all on your own, like we were saying. If you try to do it all on your own, you're gonna lose your life. You're gonna have to go through adversity, like things that you might not have had to go through otherwise, right? And when you go to chase God, right, and try to become at peace with yourself, not only yourself but with God as well, you can gain your life back with Him in it, right? And I feel like that's very vital to everybody, like to not only us like as humans but to our futures in impossible eternity with God, uh barring any any tragedies that that may have somebody not be able to go to heaven, right? But when you have a connection with God, it definitely increases your chances of going to heaven and spending eternity with Him. So
Mhm.
what does that verse mean to you?
So those two words, deny yourself, it it convicts me so hard.
Right.
And the reason why I say that is because when Jesus says deny yourself, it means deny your flesh.
Hmm.
Our flesh is evil. Our flesh is deceitful. Our flesh wants to curse somebody out. Our flesh wants to go against God's will. Our flesh wants to, lust. Our flesh wants us to basically do what it's always been accustomed to do. But
Right.
God's will and God's plan wants us to do the complete opposite. And when we become adopted into God's, I guess, presence in God's family, just into God Himself, we have to give that up completely. And not like, oh my gosh, like fight it every day, but give it up.
Right.
There's a complete difference between fighting it and giving it up. Because if we try to fight it, how are we gonna fight flesh with our flesh?
Right.
We have to give it up to God, who is all holy and all perfect. So I feel like this verse for me, it was just it convicted me, but it's teaching me. Convict doesn't mean condemn. It doesn't mean, oh my gosh, you're such a
Right.
bad person.
Uh
But
huh.
it's like, man, like you got some room for improvement.
Yeah.
Here's what you need to do. So it's a very good verse for me.
It's definitely a verse of constructive criticism.
Mm.
It's telling you, it's warning you that your flesh isn't going to you to heaven or to hell or anywhere that you might go in the afterlife, right? It's warning you that to not stick with your flesh, because if you stick with the flesh, you can't serve two masters. That whole thing. That's a
Mm.
different verse, but you can't you can't be trying to curse somebody out and then expect to live life with God in eternity. So, because He won't accept that in heaven, He's not gonna let you. He's not gonna let you cuss the angels out. You know.
Yeah, like the thing about heaven is like it's an all holy place. Like, and I've done this a few times before. I would say like around like 2020. Like when people would ask me like, how do you expect to get to heaven? My main answer would be, you know, I just do good things. Like, I'm a good person. I help ladies across the street.
Right. Yeah.
I help people with their bags. When they get out of the grocery store. But it's like I'm still dealing with these deceitful sins. I'm still dealing with sinning. I'm still dealing with fighting my flesh. So the day that I die, or the day of judgment, when I go to the gates of heaven and I see God, I feel like He's probably going to ask me, like, what did you do for my kingdom? What relationship did you have with me? And it's like I can't say, "Oh, well, I helped this lady across the street."
Right.
It's not gonna. He's gonna be like, "Bro, what relationship did you have with me? Like, did you follow my commandments? Did you deny yourself? Did you take up that cross? And did you truly follow me?" And that's something that I still have to come to terms with, to grasp, because it's like every day that I wake up, is I get a new opportunity to do it, and it's just something to really think about, and it's just something to capitalize on.
Yeah. For sure. The uh, the importance of having the importance of not leaning on your good deeds to have a relationship with Christ is very important. It's crucial, actually, that you don't try to, like you said, helping a lady across the street. A serial killer can do that, you know. So he may or may not let a serial killer into heaven. I don't know. I mean, it's not my choice, obviously, right? But it's um it's a tough decision, right, for him, probably. I would hope. I mean, I would guess that it's a tough decision. Like, I mean, there might be some like terrible killers or some robbers or somebody that did just heinous things on earth that would still be in heaven, and it might be because he saw something in them that was, you're still deserve to be with me despite the things that you did.
And I feel like one thing that we do the most is when we look at somebody who is trying to follow Jesus, we always tend to bring up their past.
Right.
Like, I feel like 99% of the world, if a serial killer were to come out and say, I am a follower of Christ now,
Yeah.
I'm born again, I've been baptized with the Holy Spirit,
Yeah.
I've been baptized in water, they would probably say, bro, you're a serial
Right.
killer. But it's like you can't look at somebody's past now, because when, and I think I'm paraphrasing the Bible when I say this, when you are baptized, in the Holy Spirit when you are baptized in water, and when you come to follow Christ, you are born again.
Yeah.
Keyword born again. You are a new creation. So all those sinful deeds is kind of like God has amnesia. Like he
Yeah.
just forgets them. He doesn't remember them anymore.
Yeah.
But that's what we don't do.
Mhm.
We tend to bring it up. We tend to condemn somebody with their past, and it's terrible. It really is.
And
Really, it's terrible.
it's the concept of there was a story in this Bible, or in the Bible, not this Bible. It was, I don't, it's again a paraphrasing, but they were saying there was somebody, I forgot his name, but I think it started with the S by chance. I really forgot. But he he committed some crime in like the olden days, like Jerusalem, Israel, somewhere in there. This guy, um, he committed some crime, and they were about to stone him, right? And I forgot who came. Like, I'm really bad with the story. Like, I haven't read it in a little bit, but it stuck with me, obviously, right? And it was saying how the first one that hasn't sinned cast a stone, because they're about to stone him. They're about to stone him to die. And and the person said, and whoever, it might have been God. I really forgot, but he was saying whoever hasn't sinned cast the first stone.
Oh, okay. So I think I remember this story. I think Jesus came and he was like, "Whoever is without sin, be the first to." I think it was something around the
It's
lines.
something on those lines.
Yeah,
It's the concept is very important to me, and I try to live by that a lot. Where it's like, how am I the one to say who's right or wrong in a situation? You know, it's it's the thing where it's like, even like today with like with the courts. Like, I'm not saying the court system is bad or anything, but what I am saying is, uh obviously there's some like undeniable ones that it's like, if somebody kills somebody, yeah, they got to go to jail, like, like, obviously. But those things where it's like, even like a misdemeanor or something like that, they shouldn't have to go to go through like labor, like intensive labor and all that, especially if it's a misdemeanor and things of that nature. And uh, the court system itself is funny because it's a sinful person condemning another sinful person for committing a sin.
yeah,
So imperfect. It's a double edged sword, right? So you're condemning somebody for doing something that you have the capability of doing as well. Yeah, you might not have done it, but it's in the eyes of God, y'all are both sinners.
yeah.
For him, all sin is equal. Not, it's not where it's like, he wrote 10 commandments, not saying that one was worse than the other, one was better than the other to commit. He said, if you commit the sin, you've betrayed me, right? So the making a sin, obviously, you shouldn't do it, but lying is gonna, well, to some extent, lying is gonna put you in jail. If I lie to my dad, and like, and if I lie to my dad like right now, right, that's not gonna put me into jail, most likely, unless I did like something like crazy, like, right. But lying to the government, right, that would probably put me in jail, right. But it's, so yeah, it's like, to the extent of which, what you're doing. But
And
I feel like it's important to consider, like, even like in general, not only in the course, but like, just like when you're talking to people, just like friends, right? When you're talking to them, to make sure that you're not yeah, you can judge them to an extent, because like, if someone does something wrong, it's still wrong, so you
mm,
can still have your own opinion.
mm,
But you can't, I feel like you can't necessarily condemn them for doing something that was wrong, because you probably did something wrong a few hours ago, right before that. So I feel like that's something that we all have to work on, as just as a human race,
mm.
the ability to be more understandable of each other, and understand each person's situation is different, and the reasons why they might do certain acts is different, right or wrong. But I would like to transition into basketball.
Mm.
So I know you're pretty good, right? I saw you playing.
I wouldn't say pretty good. Decent.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
decent.
Okay, Mr. Humble.
I'm decent.
I saw you with your Larry Bird esque jumper, over the head.
Yeah. Thing is like I've crafted that jump shot for like the past 3 years,
Uh-huh.
and I would always like some people would say like, bro, like why do you shoot like that? I was
Uh-huh.
like, I mean, I don't know how else to shoot. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like
Okay.
I've tried different jump shots and they all sucked.
Okay.
But it's like whenever I tried like the Larry Bird jump shot, it's like it's more suitable for me.
Well, I feel like one thing is you're for those who don't know, he's 6'3".
Yeah.
Uh, is it taller or is it 6'3"?
Hmm?
Is it 6'3" or are you taller than that?
6'3".
Six
Yes.
three. Okay, so he's 6'3". He got pretty long arms, so he has to bring it up here because otherwise he kind of has to. Because why does LeBron shoot so high?
I mean, it didn't. If you really think about it, like KD is like
7 foot.
7 foot.
Yeah.
I mean, he brings the ball literally
All right, he don't bring it that. He don't bring it that high. He
like
he bring it
right
right above his
there.
head. Yeah, he needs to though.
Exactly.
Yeah, he definitely
Exactly.
needs to. The funniest thing that I see is Victor doesn't bring it like Wembanyama doesn't bring his set point that high. His is like at his forehead,
Yeah.
and he has like a set. He's like 8 foot wingspan.
It's a smooth jumper though.
It's very no, it's very smooth, but I don't understand how someone with such long arms can just. How does he have it right here?
I'm telling you, like when you really start crafting your own jump shot, it's it's gonna be different. Like it's
Right.
obviously gonna be different. Not all tall people are gonna have the Larry Bird esque jump shot.
Yeah.
Uh, nobody's gonna have the Victor Wembanyama jump shot like Victor himself.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, like we all have different jump shots, and I feel like we all try to like do like the Steph Curry or
Yeah. Yep.
like the you know Kobe or it's like nah, man, you gotta get your own. You gotta
Yeah.
get your own.
You that's what because I feel like when I was younger, I'm like self taught. Like when I was younger, like I taught myself how to shoot, right? And when I taught myself, I molded it like pretty much like directly after Steph.
I could see that.
Yeah,
I be seeing that.
yeah. I shoot it like right at my eyebrow or like maybe at my forehead at sometimes, like in the mid range, right? But I brought when I got older, right, into like early middle school, even eighth grade actually, I started shooting more like clay. Like I had like a wider base, and because my base used to be like really narrow, it's pretty narrow now, but it used to be like really wide, like outside of my. It was kind of bad. It was like outside of my shoulders. It shouldn't have been that wide, but um, and I had like elbow problems. My elbow would be coming out and stuff, but that's a whole different story. The point is that I when I was younger, I was molding it after my favorite players. I wasn't molding it best of my like what would best suit me, right? So when I got into high school, like that summer from eighth to ninth grade, right? I actually like started focusing on making the jump shot for me rather than making it for like to emulate somebody else that like I was just like a big fan of, right? So it was it still stayed like the set point still stayed in the same spot because I don't have like that long of arms obviously, but um I think it's very important to definitely stay unique in the jump shot because that's you don't want to have to redo your whole jumper.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a nightmare. Because that takes like months, like
yeah.
maybe even a year to like actually like recraft that. But what I do want to ask you is when did you actually start playing basketball?
Start playing basketball around 8
Eight.
years old.
Okay.
I started. Hmm. I started at a local pavilion. That's where I started. It was like a purple team. It was like a purple recreational team, and for a while, I was bad. It's terrible. I really don't want to remember that stage
Yeah.
of my basketball career. But as I got older, kind of like the same with you, start crafting my own jump shot. Uh, I would say around 14, 14, 15 is when I experienced my first injury. This was when I was attending Argo, and it came from me punching like like those electronic punching bags that raise the score up.
Oh yeah, yeah, like the whack a mole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I twisted my wrist on that,
Oh my gosh.
and yeah, man, uh,
Yeah, you're cooked.
broke. I don't know what bone. Scar is still right here.
Show actually no, show it to this one. Show it to this one. Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll zoom in on that.
so I remember I was at the mall. I was with my brother in like a local, it was like a local mall. So it was Chicago Ridge, and I was with a friend, right? And I remember kind of like winding back, and I wanted to hook it, but the thing only goes one direction.
Right. Yeah.
So I tried hooking it, and then my bone just shattered. I was like, bro, like it was. I didn't scream. I was like, ah, and I was like, bro, what's wrong with my wrist? Like I couldn't move it throughout the entire day, and it got to the point like it was around 1 in the morning, and bro, it's just throbbing,
Mm.
like throbbing pain. And I called my dad up. He's in the other room, and I didn't want to bother my dad because
It's 1 a.m.
he was sleeping.
Yeah.
Both my parents were sleeping. I was like, Dad, bro, this hurts. Like I gotta go to the hospital, or I'm just like I can't deal with this pain. Luckily, my dad my dad is a very good man. So he took me to the hospital, right? 1 in the morning. Uh, and they told me that I forgot what bone it was, but I fractured, I think it was like a boxer fracture. And
That would make sense. You try to punch it. So
yeah, so I mean obviously. So I remember getting casted up, right? And I would say while I was at Argo, I had to basically try out for the team with my left hand.
uh you're righty.
Yeah. But the thing about Argo is this is no shade to Argo.
Here we go.
They're not the best in sports. Um, they're not ranked.
Dang.
Uh, and I know that your AAU team mainly consists of Argo
Oh
players.
yeah.
So yeah, the Argonauts, we weren't that good. So
I heard that they got better like
they
this
did
year.
get better. They did. Their varsity team got better.
Okay.
I checked out their varsity team. They're pretty solid. But I ended up making the team
Okay.
with a left
With the
hand
left hand.
that I don't
That
practice with.
that that tells a lot.
That I don't practice with. So now, kind of going back to the Christianity thing, this is where God kind of placed me in the right
Direction.
situation.
Right.
I ended up getting better with my left hand. Obviously, because that was the only hand I could ever
That you
practice
use
with.
right.
Yeah, like whenever I would try catching the ball with both hands, my right wrist would kind of like cramp up.
Mm.
I'd be like, bro, this hurts. So I still kept my cast on. I remember playing, I would say 2 games of the season with my left hand. And then around that time it started getting better. Then mobilizing my right hand more. And then for the rest of the season it was just back to normal. But I was still kind of trash
Okay.
during my freshman year because I was still kind of getting my right hand back into place. Even though it was back to normal, I was still kind of getting it back into place. But it took a lot of improvement uh, after that freshman year during the summer. So going into HF, it was more competition.
Right. Yep.
For
Yep.
those who don't know, HF is ranked number 16 for sports in the state
Then they were. I thought they were number one. Oh, overall, overall. I thought
overall.
you were talking about
And
basketball.
this
My
was
fault.
before I started my sophomore year. This is before.
Oh, you're talking about. Okay, okay. I got you.
Yeah.
I got
So I was like, oh no, I might not make it.
you. Yeah.
I might not make it. So like the entire school year leading up to those tryouts, I was so nervous. Like it was really all I could talk about because I was passionate about basketball. So I didn't want my dreams to just be crushed during these tryouts. So I went, and I don't know what was the regular number for most Argo tryouts. I think when I tried out my freshman year, it was around like 30 kids. So
Only 30.
yeah, 30 to 40. And
Dude.
I feel like that was that was also a part of the reason why I made it. Because it was just a short amount of kids.
Right.
Nobody really wanted to play basketball like that. But at HF, it was almost 100. It's like 90 kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say day one of tryouts, I did pretty decent. Still some rough patches. I was still rough around the edges. But day two is where I really started to pick it back up. Uh, Day three, I ended up making the team.
There's a third day.
Yeah. Wait, hold on.
You're
Wait.
tripping. There's only
No,
two.
I am tripping. I am tripping. Day two.
Yeah,
My bad.
they're on it too.
At the end of day 2 is
Okay.
where I made the team. My coach ended up telling me that I was like I was gonna be like a player manager, right?
Player
And
manager is ridiculous.
yeah, it's
I didn't
ridiculous.
even know you made the team last year.
You did it?
No, I didn't
You
know.
didn't come to any of the games?
No.
See, that's why you don't know. Uh, it's very embarrassing for me to admit. But I was a player manager, which basically meant I was the last option. I
Right.
was number 16.
Number 16
Yeah.
on the bench.
Yep.
I thought there was only 15 people that could play on the team. Yo, they added an extra spot for you though.
Yeah.
That means they care about you. That's good.
Bro, shut up. Shut up. But here's the thing. Over the season, I ended up becoming more, I guess, just improving much, much more. And this really came from the work at home. I have a basketball hoop in my backyard, and I would just go out there and just practice, 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 practice,
For
practice.
sure, for sure.
So around that time, my right hand was fully healed. And I remember just it was kind of like a switch. You know what I mean? So I was probably like second coming off the bench. I wasn't the last option anymore. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Okay.
I remember being told that this has to be the funniest thing I've ever heard from my coach. I'm not gonna mention his name though, but I remember him telling me if the player that was at my position got bad grades and wasn't eligible, like academically eligible to play,
Yeah.
I would come in. So I was like, bro. I mean, at the time, I was excited to make the team. Like this school was very, very popular in
Right. Yeah.
Illinois, so I was like, I mean, hey, I'm a part of the team. I'm happy to be here. So I would say midway through the season, I became better. I think I averaged like maybe 4 points a game,
Okay,
probably
that's
like
pretty good for seventh man. I'm not gonna lie.
probably like 6 rebounds. So midway through the season, I got better, much much better. And I would say by the end of the season, I was pretty much close to 6 man.
Okay.
So really, to sum up that entire season, it was just constant improvement. I went from being the last option to almost 6 man. I actually started one game,
Okay. He's
just
cooking.
one, just one.
Okay. One's better than none.
Facts. So yeah, I actually started one. And then now I'm just looking forward to improving my game. Coming my junior season.
So, in terms of adversity while playing, so I know you mentioned that one injury.
Yeah,
The have you had any other injuries or like just like tough times in basketball? Like besides that left hand struggle that you had recently, but like for example, like maybe like a crazy long shooting slump or something like that. Like have you had anything like that happen?
I've had adversity mentally
Okay.
when dealing with basketball. Uh, Really, it came from just not believing in my own abilities. As a center, in my eyes, centers get the least amount of opportunities.
Nah, it's power forward. It's definitely power forward. What are you talking about? It's definitely power forward.
Centers, I feel like a center's main job is to rebound the ball.
You can get 8 points out of off of putbacks per game.
Okay, we can't dribble. They
That's
don't
your fault.
they I'm not saying we don't have the ability to dribble. Y'all don't give us the opportunity to dribble.
The coaches don't.
Y'all don't either.
I do.
Okay, Bryce, congratulations. You. That's you. Most point guards are not dishing out to their center to, I guess, dribble a little bit, drive, get to the bucket. That's not happening.
They say get in the post,
Facts.
back to the basket.
They're literally saying, hey, come to this corner, dish it off to him so he can get in the post, back him down, get you a little post hook. That's it. I've had to work on my post hook for like a year and a half.
Let me find a you Kareem.
Maybe. Maybe. Just maybe. I'm not doing like the one leg thing.
Oh,
I'm 2 feet straight up post hook.
okay, okay. So you're not Kareem.
I'm not Kareem.
Okay,
I'm like a carbon copy. Or like a Walmart version.
got you. Like
Like
great value.
like a ripoff.
Okay, okay.
Pure rip off of Kareem. But really just dealing with like not believing in my abilities to play the game. I
Right.
would have games where I did have slumps. My main ability is from the mid range.
Okay.
I'm really good at mid range. Usually I don't shoot from the three. I don't shoot from the perimeter.
You can though.
See, they don't give us that chance though. But
Pick and pop. Get my boy in the pick and pop situation.
see, but I would always get the pass to the mid range. I love my teammates for that. They will always give it to me to the mid range because they know I can shoot from there. But it was times where I was like 0 for 5 in the mid range. I was like, I'm not shooting there no more.
Dang.
I was like, just give me a post, bro. Let me back him down. I got it. Also with rebounding, like the thing is with coaches, when you don't get all the rebounds, they perceive you as like soft.
Yeah.
That I hate that, bro. Like, oh my gosh, it
Is
was.
so the thing about rebounding is, especially on offense, is not a 50-50. No matter how you say it, it's not 50-50 because on offense or I'm sorry, if you're on offense, you're already like down like 20%. Like because you're usually coming out of a set, right? So you're coming out of it like usually a set play. Or it's not a set play, it's some type of freelance, right? So you for you, right? Since you're saying that they usually have you in the post, so you have your back to the basket already, right?
Mhm,
Meaning that there's somebody probably behind you.
mhm.
So in terms of positioning, right?
I can't box him out all that well.
Right, because
So
you're already behind him.
it's like, man, like, what do you expect me to do, bro?
Right, because sometimes you get might get that lucky bounce, right?
Yeah,
And it's a thing. You remember the Cam Newton thing in the Super Bowl where like the ball was right by him after the fumble,
I
and like
don't
you.
remember that.
Okay,
I'm
well,
really not really a
okay.
football
So
guy.
for those who might know, I don't know the number of the Super Bowl. I kind of forgot, but
You
it
might
was
have
it
to
was
educate me on this.
it was Panthers Broncos a few years ago. It was like 2015 or something like that, right?
Mhm.
Um, Cam fumbled, right? And the ball was like right by him, and he didn't dive on it, and he said he was scared to get injured. And the thing is, it's the Super Bowl. So like, what are you scared to? Like, you're scared for next season?
I be feeling like that sometimes too. I
No, no,
ain't.
no, no, no. But that's different because you're a high school ball in like a regular season game, right? He's a no, 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 no. It's different. Trust. It's different. He's in the Super Bowl in the NFL, right? All you gotta and no, I'm telling you, like the ball was like right next to him. It wasn't even like it was like. It's not like it was like you had to like make a crazy effort diving play. All you had to do was fall on the ball, and like he was the one that was close to the ball because he fumbled it and then like it bounced right next to him. So
But it's like you be having those mental scares sometimes. Like when before I got injured, it's like I wasn't scared to box out or be physically or
oh,
like be
your
fit.
wrist got you like actually like that.
Yes, bro. Like obviously with rebound, I
Right.
had to
Right, right,
grab
right,
that
right.
ball. But like when after I got injured, it was like, oh, like I'm scared to do anything
Uh-huh.
because I just don't want to get this hurt again.
Right.
I don't want to even do anything worse to it.
Yeah.
Like so, just being physical and having that physicality and just being strong in the mindset, it's a struggle. Like it's something that I have to do, but also it's like, man, you gotta give me a little bit of a break. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm kind of coming off of physical rehab.
Yeah.
So just being more
Broken
physical,
wrist.
facts. So like just being more physical and having that mentality of like, I don't care who you are, I'm getting this rebound.
Yeah.
It's gonna take time to adapt.
Yeah, for sure. But that's what I'll say about the 50-50. The coaches the funniest thing about some coaches is that like um they tell you to do things but then they can't do it themselves. So like obviously they're older, they're not gonna be able to do it. But I'm saying like they're gonna tell you to run 50 laps around the gym, but like they're winded after two. It's the it for me it's been like I feel like I respect all coaches. Don't get me wrong, but like I have like a higher level of respect for coaches that like are at least considerate of like that's like one thing I have like with my current coaches. Like they'll tell you like run a down and back or like two down and backs. Like that's easy, right? That's
Mhm.
not anything where it's like after you do that you're gonna be like messed up either physically or mentally or something like that. Because the um the ability to play basketball after running that much with no break is first of all unrealistic, and
And
second of
then
all
no
very hard.
water. Like
But yeah, no water
no
either.
water.
Yeah,
Like
uh,
I
that
remember, and I don't know if you experienced this at camp.
okay.
For those who don't know, we had a little Homewood Flossmoor Summer League camp. It lasted like 26 days, but it was hard because it was 3 hours every day.
Yeah,
So we would mainly start off with running, and after that, we would just get straight to skill work and scrimmaging. I was like, bro, where the water at?
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, bro, we don't get no water, we don't get no drinks, like no nothing. There was no
Then
break.
that's how a lot of people play worse because if you think about it in basketball, it's not like football where there's a lot of like downtime where like after every down or like after every like sack or tackle, you some people might even have like the like substitutions, like they have like the hockey subs basically. Not hockey because you have to do it during stoppage, but it's a thing where you can get you can rehydrate pretty easily, or like you can get rest and rejuvenate, right?
Mhm.
In basketball, you continuously run more for sure, but they you still got breaks though, like even during like free throws or
But
like
like those barely come, man. Like those
no, but
barely
like
occur.
no, because you got to understand people get fouled a lot in it,
Yeah,
at least the AAU ball.
but it's like it only lasts for like 15 seconds. Because some people's free throw routines are
Quick,
fast.
yeah.
So it's like right after you go straight to running, like you go right back to running. And coaches barely call timeouts nowadays. So it's like
No, that's very true. Not a lot of time. That's what they I even see in the NBA. Like some of those coaches, like Darvin Ham, especially. I know he got fired or whatever, but he was a Lakers coach, and he would have his hands in his pockets, and it was like a whole meme because like he would not call timeouts like when he was supposed to. Like a team would go on like an 11-2 run, and like he like won't call time. It's like I'm pretty sure Lakers fans were mad about it and stuff. But that's definitely true to an extent.
and it's I feel like for me, like, and I kind of want to put a scenario in place. If I were a coach, I feel like here's what I would do. Um, Number one, I'm having beverages on deck.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
having like 16 bottles of water. I got the little Gatorade thing, like where you squeeze it, the water comes out.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and I'm giving my players timeouts. Like, bro, I'm not gonna lie. If they go on like a
Cause you get like six of them, like five or six of them for
Yeah,
the whole
if you go
game.
like on an 8-0 run, I'm calling timeout
Yeah,
and I'm coming up with a play. You're gonna do something.
yeah,
Like you're not just gonna let them torch you for the whole
yeah.
game,
No,
bro.
yeah.
So it's like I feel like with a lot of these coaches, they try to adapt the mindset of giving their players grit. And grit is a very important factor,
Mm.
but I think you're I think they implement it the wrong way. Like grit doesn't come from me running 5 suicides or 8 down and backs with no water and then getting right back to running a play or scrimmaging.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't help me, bro. It just tires me out.
But what I was saying is like you, even like with those like small breaks, when you if it's not a fast break, right, and then like they come into a set, if you're on defense or offense, honestly, you still. What I'm saying is like it's not a constant like steal, then like another steal, because that's what they're simulating with like suicides and down and backs and stuff. They're simulating like constant turnovers like every possession. So I understand like the endurance capability and stuff. That's not what I'm arguing. I'm just saying like the water's needed for sure, and we're agreeing on that. I don't think we're disagreeing too much here. I'm saying the water's definitely needed because you can definitely, and you can even get subbed out like because when out of bounds, like if somebody steps out of bounds, like a turnover happens, it is not like a steal or a block. If you need to get subbed out, you can ask to get subbed out.
Just a quick little breather,
Yeah,
man.
it's very true. Just get a little drink,
Then go right back in.
go right back in. That I mean, I feel like one thing that I don't really like much about grassroots basketball, like the basketball that we have here, is that if you get like 1 to 2 practices a week, and then you get like 5 games or like 3 games at least. That's a thing that happens a lot, especially with AAU,
Mhm.
and it happens in high school too. But like you get more practices in high school ball, I feel like, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because uh, with AAU you have these huge circuits. You got the middle circuits, You got like the small circuits. So you got like EYBL, made hoops. You got like the 1 day. Have you heard of 1 day?
Mm-mm.
Okay, it's 1 day tournament. Um, Big Time Ballin'. You heard of them?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's like the smaller circuits.
Yeah.
Basically, I think Luca talked about this. He was saying how in Europe you're practicing every day. You're getting like good recovery every day though, and then you might have like 1 or 2 games, like max, like 2 games max on the weekend,
Mm.
or like at least like during that week you have like 1 game, and then you practice. Then you have a lot of practice time, but you don't have a lot of actual gameplay. So you're having a lot of skill development without having to wear out your body. And then I think they were saying that's a reason why a lot of the number one picks and stuff they do really well in high school and like in their like 1 year of college because everybody's going one and done. I feel like they're doing really bad as far as like injuries and like more busts are coming through because you can have so much wear and tear on your body coming out of high school or coming out of college, that 1 year of college, or like even if you have two, is not far removed from having so many games related to relative to so little practice.
Yeah.
So when I feel like it's never gonna happen, but we should definitely like adapt or not adapt, adopt the European style of like you can have, because when you have those practices you get they try to, if you're with right teams they treat you well in terms of like recovery if they, again, if you're with the right team,
Yeah.
like they let you, for us, for my team, they let us like get water after like certain segments. Like we get like 3 or 4 water breaks through like a 2 hour practice.
You're lucky.
I know, I know,
You're very, very
I
lucky.
know, I know. I'm lucky. I kind of, because the thing is with my AAU team going into sophomore year last year, we got like a practice. So we are going like two hours and 30 minutes. So
Yeah.
I know I know I'm definitely lucky. Like I was honestly I was expecting 2 max out of like, because we used to do 2 hour practices, but recently we've been doing like 90. But with the water breaks, I feel like it's vital because the players don't play to their full potential if they're not fully hydrated. You know what I mean? So, who or what helped your development in basketball? Like a special trainer or like,
That's the thing. I don't have a special trainer.
okay,
Uh, I would say my dad.
okay,
My dad helps me a lot. The
right,
thing is, like, my dad isn't that active in basketball. He knows about basketball. He knows
most ball,
yeah, he knows ball, but he doesn't play basketball a
okay,
whole lot. I would say he suggested a lot of very, very positive just tactics
hmm.
and implementations for my
Is
game.
he tall too?
Hmm?
Is he tall too, or like are y'all like,
I think I'm taller than him.
okay?
I think he's like six. He's like 6'2".
Okay,
So
so
he's right
so
up there.
because I know some people where it's like, have you seen Yao Ming next to his parents?
Aren't his parents short?
His parents are short as heck, but he's 7'6". So like
I mean,
it's
see, I don't know how
yeah.
that worked. I don't know
So
how that
it's like
worked.
this. It's the same concept where like I've just seen it before, where it's like the people or the kids can be drastically taller than their parents, even like with the draft classes. And
Yeah,
that's why I was asking
I
that.
feel like if you would look at my parents, like my mom, my dad, and then me, you'd
Right,
be like, that's a
it's reasonable.
okay. Yeah, I could assume that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah, my dad was a very big inspiration for me. Like, really surrounding basketball because he pushed me a lot.
right,
It's not like he like forced me to play basketball,
right.
and then it's not like he, you know, pushed me to exhaustion, but he definitely was a very big help. Getting me the right equipment, teaching me just a lot of stuff about the game. Very just speaking, really speaking life into that game and into basketball for me. So yeah,
Okay. So, would you say that you taught yourself how to play, or would you say that like your dad taught you how to play?
I would say it's like 70%, no, 60% me, 40% my dad.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
So, was he like teaching you, when you say teaching, when he that 40% of him teaching you, was it more fundamentals or was it more like understanding the game?
Both. My dad is a very big fan of fundamentals.
Okay.
I think my dad shoots kind of like me.
Okay.
Like it's a little bit
You
to
got that old hand jumper?
yeah, got that overhead jumper. So it's like a little bit to the side. Mine's is more straight, but his is a
Okay.
little bit to the side.
So he always got his elbow in there, right?
Yeah. So he basically taught me the jumper. He taught me post moves. He taught me that post hook. He taught me spin post moves, like just a whole lot of stuff. Like, and then he would. What was your second thing?
Just who or what? I was just saying like an option of who or what
Oh,
taught you.
okay. Yeah. My dad definitely taught me a lot about basketball. Really, exclusively fundamentals.
Okay, I got you. For me, my dad was my dad taught me more than like my mom because my mom never like played basketball.
Right.
The funny thing is my dad is a football player, and my dad wanted me to play football, but my mom didn't want me to get a CTE, right? So I didn't play football. Um, and so growing up, I started playing basketball like 5, right?
Mhm.
So it's the same thing with like your story where it's like I wasn't good until like I was decent. Like I started being decent in like 7th grade during like quarantine because like that's when I started playing outside like consistently, right? It's the thing where it's that's where like the self taught thing kind of came up, where it's like my dad taught like when I was saying, did your dad teach you fundamentals um or like actually understanding the game? My dad more taught me understanding the game more than fundamentals. So that's I was trying to see like where your dad came from that because it sounds like your dad actually like played somewhere or like not necessarily in college but like high school ball maybe.
So my dad never told me about like his backstory with
Okay,
basketball. I actually don't know where he got this knowledge from.
ask him.
You definitely should ask him. But I'm gonna ask him actually after the podcast.
I got you.
But my dad, like, I don't know his origin.
Okay,
Like,
okay,
it's mysterious. Like, he just came up with the knowledge. I think it comes from like a mixture of basketball and then just life ethics. You know
okay,
what I mean? Understanding the game. He taught me how to really just be mentally strong.
right, yeah,
Uh, Kind of like really just getting back up.
right,
Especially after my injury.
uh-huh,
Um, my dad was with me like every step of the way.
yeah,
Just teaching me how to get back up on my feet, not to really just be pounding, lying back and just letting the injury overtake my life, but to improve, keep working on it, keep working on the mobility, and then getting back into the game.
yeah. For sure. So I'm gonna combine these last two questions that I had. So craziest stat line and craziest basketball story. I want to hear those two.
Stat line. I'd have scored 15, 10, and 4 one time. That
Okay.
was my highest. As a center, I feel like that's pretty
No,
good.
four assists for a center is not bad.
Yeah. This was during my Romeoville weekend. It was with a different AAU team. This was before I came to Humble Flossmoor. They were called the Thoroughbreds. And around that time, I was really starting to improve my game. I remember just going off
Mhm.
that weekend. I remember just going off. It was that one specific game, but I feel like the team was kind of trash. So
Okay.
I mean, like they were mediocre. They
Okay.
weren't the best team, but they weren't the worst. So it was kind of in the middle. What was your second question?
The your craziest basketball story, just like in general, what's like the craziest thing that's happened to you with basketball?
I think I might have got like fouled in mid. Yeah, I think I might have got fouled in midair. Probably hit my head concrete. It was at like a local park,
Okay.
mind you. It was against some old heads.
Oh, okay.
It was
Okay.
this was grown men,
Right.
right? So this was
So
this
like
was
LA
this was my
Fitness.
dad basically taking me to up my game. He was like, "Yeah, you got."
Yeah. No, I know exactly how it is.
And my dad, he talks like this. Hold on. Yeah, you gotta improve your game, man.
Yo, yo,
You gotta go play against like bigger competition,
yo.
like better competition. I was like, okay, so you taking me to like a recreational center? He's like, no, I'll take you to the park. It's like,
He said you taking you outside, bro.
I was like, bro. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. And then I saw what he meant.
Yeah.
So it was like 30-year-old dudes. Like, I was like, all right, cool.
How old were you?
I was like 13.
Okay, okay. That's when my dad started taking me like for grown men stuff.
So I was like, got pushed out of the air. Like, oh, bro, I fell out. And like it hurt for a little bit. It hurt for a little bit, but like the impact was crazy. Like, I don't know. I think I ended up like continuing the game. I ended up finishing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like that was my craziest basketball story.
Okay, that's fair. The it, I was thinking like in terms of the grown men part, right? Where I was thinking you meant like LA Fitness, like it was indoors, and then like you're saying like it was on like you're on gravel or concrete.
Actually, no. I have another basketball story. All right. There was a fight at the same park.
Oh wow.
It was like a Royal Rumble. It was like an all out brawl, right? So we hooping. It's me, my brother, and my dad.
Okay.
And I remember like my dad is a very peacemaking type of guy.
Oh, for sure.
He's
I
a very
like that.
peacemaking type of guy. He's very lenient, so he doesn't really like to like. Obviously, he'll stand up for his kids.
Right.
Like he'll he'll go to war about his kids, but he likes to do peacemaking first. I remember me, my brother, and my dad were hooping. It was around like 8 o'clock, starting to get dark, you know. And my dad at the time, so the neighborhood that I'm living in now, that's where the park was at. And it's not the safest neighborhood, but it's not the worst. So I remember being done with the whole hoop session, right? And I just hear some arguing, like just some back talk, right? So there's these two, I think they was around my brother's age, around like 17, maybe 18. And my dad is like, "Oh, you gotta go to the car. Go to the car." So I was like, "What you mean? Like, you can't hoop no more?" He's like, "No, you gotta go to the car." I was like, "All right."
Yo, the impersonation killing me, yo.
So I'm like, "All right, man." So my dad stays. I'm like, "What is he doing? Like, why are you staying at the park? You just told us to go to the car. I'm thinking we all about to just dip. Mind you, this is like a 10-minute walk away from our house, so it's right around the corner." So I'm like, "All right, bro, whatever." So my dad finally gets in the car. He's like, "I think they're about to like fight or something like that." I was like, "What you mean?" I I opened the door just a little bit, and I kind of like peek up.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
All I see is punches being thrown. I'm like, I'm like, bro, somebody got slammed up against the fence. I'm like, yo, bro. I'm like, bro, it's just all like everybody on the court is fighting. I'm like, bro, we gotta get up out of here. And I think around that time, uh, I don't think I ever went back to that park until like 2 years later.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's peaceful now, but back then, I don't know what was going on.
So it's the same neighborhood you're in now?
Yes,
Okay, okay. So what do you know what made it so like peaceful? Like what changed?
I think a lot of people just come.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
A lot of people just stopped coming
Okay, I got you.
because this wasn't like the only act of violence. It was like a pattern of violence that happened around that park. So it was just like me and my brother stopped going. We started going to a park that was not too far from our house. It was like 15 minutes.
Mhm.
So yeah, we started going there, but then we ended up going back because it was an easier route. Then it got safer.
Okay, for sure. So speaking of just upbringing and things of that nature, I wanted to see like if your upbringing affected you like starting your podcast. Like if when you were like coming up as a child, right?
Uh, so okay, the story of my podcast started when I was 15. Yes, 15. Now, here's the thing. My dad has a podcast.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So, he's been having that podcast for like the past 3 years. And I remember just being so like my dad is one of my biggest inspirations of all time. So I remember just being so inspired by like his podcast, his networking. It would be times where like he'll have like some popular guests. I think it was like this one guy. It was like this from the Chicago sitcom. I don't know. It was called The South Side. South Side.
I haven't heard of it.
Yeah. It is somewhat popular, and he had him on there. And I was like just my dad's cadence and confidence and his ability to really just be so confident on the mic and just talk to people and really have no problem and to just have fun while also recording something, it was like, man, this podcast stuff is cool.
Mhm.
So I ended up starting my own, and at first it was sort of like solo. I didn't want to do like just guest podcasts. And the thing is, like, I used to have a lot of trouble speaking to people.
Okay.
Kind of like
Like social anxiety?
social
Gotcha.
anxiety. It
Yeah.
was like, I don't know if you deal with that, but
Nah. Just a real quick tangent. My dad is the most talkative person you'll ever meet. So I'm like just like him.
mhm,
So like when you when I was like growing up, right? I like it's the same thing as you. Like you kind of emulate what your parents do to an
yeah,
extent, right? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and see him talking all the time. So now I'm talking all the time to
yeah.
the same people. Then
Mhm.
like I just kind of came up just talking to people. So yeah, I'm not a socially anxious person unless it's like something like blatantly embarrassing.
Yeah.
So but yeah, keep
So
on going.
um around this time, like, I was kind of improving more with talking to people. It would mainly depend on what my environment was. Now, if I was in a room full of strangers, I probably wouldn't be the first to speak.
Right.
But
I'm kind of like that though.
yeah,
Yeah.
so like if I was in a room maybe with like two of my friends,
Right.
not all of my friends, I'll be like, yo, what's up? And
Yeah.
then start speaking. And then once I start getting real comfortable, then that's when like 100% of me,
Comes
start
out.
comes out.
Gotcha.
So I remember starting my own podcast, and I really thought like, man, this is a step in the right direction. Then I started procrastinating a lot.
Mm.
Uh, really just getting episodes out and just trying to create something valuable for not only myself but for the people that want to listen to a good podcast. It was like, man, I really gotta up the ante. So I started listening to more professional podcasts, i.e. Joe Rogan. You
Right.
know, stuff like that. So I was like, here's what I got to do, stuff like that, this, that, and the third. So I started getting my friends on the podcast.
Right.
I looked up I would say I looked up the best way to start having guests. And the first option was to have your friends on there.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going to have any strangers right now. I'm going to have guests so I can see what it's really like to just talk to somebody and ask questions about them and just to get to know who they are as a person. I'm
Yeah.
just going to do it with my friends this time. Uh, now, I think the one where I talked about self love. This was during season 1 of my podcast. I think
I
it was
think
like,
it was episode 6, right?
yeah. I'm glad you know. Glad you know. Big support. So episode 6 that got the most views. It got the most plays, and I
Uh-huh.
was like, man, I gotta continue doing this.
Right.
It's not like this podcast is just going nowhere. It's going
Yeah.
somewhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? People are listening to it. And I downloaded Spotify for podcasters, and I remember just looking at my statistics, and it was around like, I would say like 60 plays on that specific episode.
And that was like the most.
Yeah, and
Right.
then I remember looking at the I guess like the fan diagram,
Uh-huh. Right. No, I know what you're talking about.
and I remember seeing like somebody from Italy was listening to me.
Italy?
Yes, somebody from Italy was listening to my podcast. I was like, oh yeah, I got to keep doing this. So, but the procrastination thing, it really tore me up. And I remember just taking a really big break from the podcast. I remember going to school and people asking me about it. I was like, I don't know, man. Before that, I was really really passionate about it. I remember at Argo, I used to hang up, and if you know, you know. Like a lot of people from Argo know this. I used to hang up posters
Mhm.
around the school, mainly during like the main hallways. It used to be like 30 of them.
Time out. They let you just hang up stuff?
I got permission by the principal to do
Okay,
it.
okay, okay. Because I was like, dude, they just like that could be like dangerous. They just let y'all hang up
Yeah,
whatever.
but
Okay, so permission.
I
Okay,
got
got
permission by the principal to do it.
you. Got you.
So I was like, okay, this gotta create some increase in my
Buzz.
fans.
You gotta get the
Yeah,
buzz.
I
You gotta
gotta
get
get some
loud.
buzz. So I remember people walking past it. And this isn't like a pity, but some people will laugh. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
some people kind of hate on it just a little bit. I remember some kid, this is during my lunch period. I remember some kid taking off the thing and then like drawing like a little mustache on it because
Yo,
the
that's so old though. Like that's like the
like
oldest
that
like
old
joke,
school
right?
movie type thing.
Like
So
that's stuff all like SpongeBob, bro. Like
yeah,
you could have picked a better like way to defame it.
like so I remember it was in my lunch period, and my podcast supposed to have my face on it, so you drew a mustache on my face. But I mean, I was cool with the kids, so I let it slide. But some people, they just didn't like it, and I was like, all right, cool. My journalism teacher liked it a lot. His name was Mr. Ross. Shout out to Mr. Ross. He liked it a lot. After that, once I moved to HF, I was like, I still got to do it. I still got to do the podcast posters. But I had a little talk with the principal, and I was like, he was like, you can't do it. Like,
Yeah, they don't. That's what I'm saying. They don't let you just
yeah,
hang up
they'll
forever.
just let you do that. I was
Yeah.
like, man, I got to find a different way. So I started season 2, and I remember my first episode, I started explaining like just what I was gonna do differently,
Mm. It
adding
was like a 5 minute one, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
just adding more segments into my podcast, and then also just being more productive and more consistent. And then yeah, here we are now.
So that consistent thing is like a big point that like I'm trying to do because like I was thinking that like I was already falling behind with that second episode
Mm.
because I did like the trailer. For those who don't know, he was in the trailer. If you couldn't tell, um, but did the trailer, and then like it took me like 2 weeks to drop the first episode. Like yeah, I was like, okay, that's smooth, right? Because I had to like get some of this equipment. Like I had to get the camera in. I had to get the what's it called? Shoot, the mics. I had to wait for the mics. 'Cause I didn't know if I was gonna use these mics or if I was gonna use the handheld. I ended up using the handheld for various reasons, but um so I had to wait for equipment to come in. That took a little bit longer, right? So it took me like a few weeks to drop it, right? I was like, okay, that's okay, right? Then I noticed that I didn't drop the week after because I was thinking I'm gonna drop every week, right? Like it was unrealistic for that though because it was Father's Day the next week. So it was like a mental thing. Like in my mind, I was like, oh shoot, I'm falling behind. But then when I dropped the second episode, I was like, oh, I'm on track.
Yeah,
It was just Father's Day.
and then I feel like the relief that I got from kind of with this whole consistent thing regarding the podcast, it was like even the most professional podcasters they drop like once a month.
Right? Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not really in no rush to do it as long as it's a lot of production value
Yeah.
that goes into it. You know?
Yeah, there was somebody. It was ASAP Rocky. He said that when you create stuff, 90% of it's editing. So like he was basically saying like even so like with music, like not only like saying what he was saying, but like making sure that it sounds right. And like for like even when I was doing the trailer, I spent so much time just on the color of it. Like I was trying
Yeah,
to make sure that the color was nailed down. So I
yeah.
wanted that like cinematic type of look.
Did a very good job on that.
Appreciate it. But I wanted that cinematic type, like I wanted to nail that so hard that I would have had no regrets watching it in like 5 years. Like, oh, I could have done this better. No, I
Yeah,
wanted to make sure, not obviously not perfect, because I couldn't make it perfect. That wasn't my goal. My goal was just to make sure that I could have something that I could look back on and be like, I'm happy with what I made, especially because it's my first time. That was my first like cinematic anything, right? Like the whole thing is an experiment. The bio pretty much everywhere says like experiment. So like it's an experimental platform, right? So I'm like, I'm trying to just have fun with it, right?
mm,
So when I'm making something for the first time, I'm okay with it not being good. Like that first episode, it was just alright.
yeah.
The second episode is a little bit better. And I'm okay with that, right? So, um, what I wanted to ask is, what necessarily made you like? Besides, like, was there anything else besides your dad that like sparked the podcast? Like, not necessarily like your upbringing, like with your family, but like, was it something like inside of you besides your dad, or was it only your dad? Would you say?
Really just wanted to speak my mind.
Right.
Um, and then just having feedback on it. Like I've always had opinions on certain topics, more pertaining to like societal issues,
For sure.
sports, Christianity, and I wanted to talk about that. But it was like while I'm in my room, I could talk about it with nobody else but just myself.
Right.
So I
It's a
was
peanut gallery.
yeah. So I was like, why not just start my own podcast?
Right.
I had the writing thing.
Oh yeah.
I had the writing thing, so I could write about it. But I was like, probably take too long. Like, why not just speak about it?
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's also where some of the inspiration from podcasts came from. Just wanted to speak my mind and then record it. And then I also liked editing. So
Oh yeah.
I wanted to edit it, make it kind of, cinematic, and then just release it and then hear some feedback on it. And
Yeah.
to also create fans and to also create supporters and network with people who had, different perspectives, but, also enjoyed it.
Yeah. For sure. Um, so he kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but for those who don't know, he started his second season very recently. He dropped, like he said, he dropped like the little 5 minute trailer to the second season, and then he dropped his first episode. When was that? A few weeks ago? Was it last week or like was it early this week?
It was, I think, last week.
Okay, so like mid last week, I'm thinking he dropped the last episode or the first actual episode, right? It was related to Emmett Till and the struggles of the Mississippi Delta and things of that nature. Uh, I'm not gonna say too much because I want y'all to watch it. I'm gonna link it. I'm gonna link it. But what specifically went wrong in season one that you would like to improve on in season two?
Um, Mic quality. Uh,
Okay, I noticed that it got better. I'll say that for sure.
yeah,
It definitely got better.
mic quality, production value, and consistency.
Mhm.
Those are the three main things. Also just not being scared to talk to people. Like, man, like if I could just have anybody on this podcast and just speak my mind, I feel
Right.
like that would make for a very good podcast.
Oh yeah.
It's like, yeah, man.
So when you say that you wanted to expand on the like talking to others, right? What's making you not want to bring those other like is it the social anxiety thing or
Yeah, just
okay.
kind of saying the wrong thing and like just like it really with my social anxiety, it just sort of calls back to like me just saying the wrong thing and not really getting my point across,
Okay.
or probably saying something, I guess, weird, and then them not wanting to talk anymore. So, and also really just having those moments of silence where it's just like we're just looking at each other and
Yeah.
we just don't know what to say.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I just don't want that to happen. So for the first season, that's why I just remained on having it sort of solo and then just having my friends on it.
Right.
But for season two, it's like I gotta get out of that comfort zone
Hmm.
because I know people like Joe Rogan, people like Theo Vaughn, they could have anybody on that
Yeah.
podcast and then say whatever they want to say,
Yeah.
and it would be perfect.
Yeah. The danger of it is that whole like cancel culture thing, right?
Mhm.
And it was I was told to like I already knew I was gonna watch what I said, right? To an extent. The they were saying that like colleges look at what you do. Obviously, like, you have the whole digital footprint. They were saying don't say anything too crazy because colleges might
Yeah,
reject you off of
yeah,
this.
that exists.
That
That
that's
definitely
definitely
exists.
that's definitely true. So I kind of relate to that. Even though I don't necessarily have social anxiety, I would say that I can relate to like um watching what I say sometimes. Like I try not to delve too much like politics and stuff like that because I feel like when you have like I feel like religious views and political views are like I feel like religious views are more accepted than political views like nationwide just in general because you can have there are like multiple different religions, but the thing is for politics it's like Democrat, Republican. That's pretty much it. So it's more accepted to just have like when I'm speaking my mind, I go more off of religion than I go off of what I might think in politics.
Mhm.
But so would you want to give a little promo to your podcast to that camera right there?
Um, really, just man, season two is it's amazing. I feel like for me, it's amazing. Episode one, it's amazing as well. I really do hope you guys can enjoy it. I don't know if you want to talk about it or not, but just check it out. It's an hour and a half.
It's hour 45.
Oh, it's hour
It's
45.
hour 45. I
It's an hour
listened to it.
45, almost touching 2 hours. So,
Yeah.
really just get into I really just got into like the very little details of what really happened. So, yeah.
He just to elaborate on what he said, he kind of he spoke on not only Emmett but Mammy Till and her upbringing. For those who don't know, Mammy is Emmett's mother, and different racism and discrimination and segregation that she went through with her upbringing, and how that led to her having to teach Emmett different things, even though it eventually led to his death in Mississippi. He was It was a very good description of how of like the whole timeline of from Mammy to Emmett, and even Emmett's grandfather on Mammy's father. So y'all should definitely check it out. Even though it's almost 2 hours, it honestly felt when I was listening to it, it really only felt like an hour. But that might be because I have a decent attention span, so I can like listen to those long podcasts. But it's okay, right? Speaking of creative endeavors that you've delved into, you're a writer, right? You're an
Yeah.
author. You've only written one article. It's only been one, but it was a
So
good one. It was kind of related to episode 6, right?
yeah,
Did you do that on purpose, or
no, I did not.
okay? So it was it made around the same time? I read it and I listened to it, but I didn't.
Episode 6 of season 1 was made in 2023. I think
Okay,
that article was made just I think like March.
this year.
Yes.
Okay,
So I don't know what came over me to just write that article, but I was like, man, I should just start as many businesses as possible.
right,
I have my podcast. I also have like just other stuff that I would like to do, and then I like reading. So I was like, okay, cool. Let me start my own like writing business.
right.
Then I just called it Bryce's Writing.
Simple name.
Yeah, simple. So
Those are the best ones, though.
facts. So when I wrote the self-image article, it really just came from me kind of being insecure about like what I look like, especially in the past. I would always just feel some type of way about how I looked. Um, just my eyes, my eyebrows, nose, mouth, all that. So really just learning how to love who you are
Hmm.
and learning that you are God's creation. It was something that I was really just innovative with. Like especially when I wrote that article. I was just dead set on doing that, you know?
So when you were writing that, because like I said, I listened to the podcast, and actually I think I read the article before I listened to the podcast, but I didn't like check the dates, so that was probably on me. But
No, you good, you good.
so but the when you were I noticed like a lot of like cross connections between the two in terms of like what you were saying, right? Because I know it was 3 guests on that podcast episode, right?
So okay. So I don't know if I should say their names.
You don't have to. It's okay.
Okay. Uh actually no, I'm gonna say their names.
Okay.
Shout out to Brian, shout out to Joel, shout out to Quentin. Uh I would say my guest Quentin, this was his first time coming on the podcast. He gave me a lot of inspiration on how to
Okay.
love yourself. And the thing is, it was like now, like just looking back on that podcast, it was just so much just inspiration, even from like the beginning steps, like even just the baby steps, like just having those guys on there. It was like, man, like I could tell that we're doing something big. I
Right.
could tell that we're talking about something important and we did such a great job.
Yeah.
So when I started the writing thing and when I started talking about self love and self image, it kind of I kind of reminisced about that episode.
Yeah.
I kind of reminisced about that episode, and I included some parts from the podcast. I don't know if it's like a direct connection, but it's some parts in there that went into that article.
Right. I'm not gonna spoil it because I want y'all to actually like read and listen to it. I'm not gonna say exactly what he was saying, but uh, for a little glimpse, he was basically just mentioning how important it is to love yourself, and how it's something that I believe too. How you can't love somebody else without loving yourself, right? So when you were, it was when you're writing about was it any different writing about yourself than it was talking about yourself in terms of like in that way?
So like the podcast and then the writing thing.
Right. Like, was it any? Were there any? Was there any overlaps or were there any differences that like were like blatant that you're like, oh, this is like actually different, like while in the process of it?
I would say differences between talking about self love and then writing about it was the preparation. When I did the podcast, I remember having a notebook and only having like 5 bullet points
Right.
on what to talk about. The rest was freelance.
Uh-huh.
We just really talked about the general topic, but we ended up bringing stories just out of nowhere about our personal experiences. And I feel like that was the best thing to do because it was genuine. It was very, very genuine. We didn't really hold back on anything to talk about. There was really no limitations on what to talk about. It was like we're gonna get it and we're gonna go with it. But with writing, I felt like I had more time because it was like, okay, here are some topics that I could talk about that generate around self love. There are some personal accounts. There are some statistics, and I feel like this will make for a great article. I favor the podcast more though. You know what I mean? Because it was just so genuine. And I love that episode. I really
I
do.
definitely noticed how like raw it was. It was definitely very raw. I think it was better that you would have only had 5 bullet points of that. Like I, it's not that I can necessarily tell that it was off script, but I could tell that there wasn't a script. You know,
Mm.
like it's kind of two different. It sounds like I'm saying the same thing, but it's kind of like two different things. Like when you have when you're off script, it's the raw element that I was mentioning. But when you're on, you can still have kind of a raw element to it, but you can still have a script. You know,
Mm.
because you can have like just like a bullet point, and then like you're talking to each other. So like if you have that genuine chemistry with each other, then you can still like um generate that raw emotion.
Yeah, that
But
makes for a great episode.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's I feel like that raw the ability um to have no script and just go raw is it's a lot better. I feel like,
Mm.
but at the same time, it won't work for me because first episode I had no script. It was not it. Second episode I had a script, it was a little bit better, but all right. Move on to the next topic. Bryce, you're a fashion guy. Would you say you're a fashion guy?
I would say I'm kind of getting into it. You
You're
know what I
getting
mean?
into it.
I'm not all the way there yet. I like thrifting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. That's in there. That's in there. That's in there.
I like thrifting. I just man, like when I really started getting into fashion, it was like the first time I started out, it was terrible. I remember having like it was like a red Cornell University hoodie, and I think I have a few pictures in my phone. But I remember having that, and then I had like a Reds Ken Griffey jersey, so I
Mm.
put the hoodie under the jersey,
Oh,
and
nah. Nah.
I put the jersey over the hoodie, and that was my go-to fit, bro. I
Got
remember
you.
like 4 days out of the week, bro. I would wear that, and it was like I look back on it, and I was like, bro, that was disgusting.
A
That was
little
a
bit better, a little bit better.
that was a disgusting fit,
No,
man.
I'm relating to that because when I was younger, right, favorite color is blue. I mean, I didn't paint the room blue. The room came like when we moved here, the room came like this, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not, my fault. Hold on. I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but I'm getting repainted, right? But
Okay.
it's the chair is blue, The I'm a blue guy, right?
Mm.
I was so blue to the extent that I would wear all blue, blue shoes, blue socks, blue wristbands,
So
blue
this was all in the same outfit.
yes, blue glasses. Not only glasses but sports goggles. Yeah, it was that bad. It was that bad. So you better than I am. You better than I was. Cause I used to be like I love monochromatic. Like if you do it right, it looks great. That was too much though. Like it would be like a warrior shirt with like some curry shorts. Like I was like it was bad. I would have like some like blue hyper dunks on or something. Like it was just not it right. So I for me, I know it isn't about me, but like just real quick, I like go through like a little renovation going to like high school.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Cause I ain't gonna lie, like if I saw you in that fit,
nah,
I'm like, bro, that's a nasty fit.
That's diabolical. No,
Nasty
but
fit, bro.
I did. Don't get me wrong though. I stopped that before. Like I stopped that in like fourth grade. So like it wasn't like I kept that into middle school. But it was the thing is like the same. I knew the same people going from like from first grade all the way into ninth grade. Like we kept like the same like classes and stuff. That's just how the school was set up, right? So, um, they kind of saw that I was like changing a little bit.
Mm.
Like when like we would hang out with each other, it wouldn't always be all blue. Like going into middle school, like I might mix it a little bit red. You know, get a little bit of green in there. So just like tads of other colors, but it would still be sports glasses and like sports shoes outside, like basketball shoes out. Yeah, I was that bad.
So you had like no streetwear shoes? Like
Nah, nah,
you didn't want streetwear shoes?
I was bad. That's what I'm saying. Like I was bad.
Yeah.
Like my transition into see like now my fashion at least at school my fashion is sweats like in the winter is straight sweats.
Mm.
So like I'm not a jeans guy. I try to get into jeans and I was just like I don't mess with them, bro.
Yeah.
Like um like you could pull off jorts. I can't pull off jorts, bro. I don't know what it is. I just can't. I can't pull that off, bro. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
I like George for the simple fact that it's like it's just streetwear combined with like casual.
Right.
Like
Like, you're not
obviously,
wearing it to a business like thing, but like
yeah, I'm not
you,
wearing
you
it.
could wear it at school
Yeah.
or like to like a store run and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Or even like just like to like a friend's party, it's
Yeah.
not anything where it's like, you know, it's not out of the ordinary to wear them. I
Mhm.
feel like they were clown back in the day though.
They were clown. I feel like what brought it back for me. I'm a big WWE fan. Right?
Oh,
I feel
okay.
like I know where you're going with it.
Okay.
You know
Okay.
where I'm going with this.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh
I'm not big, but I know about it.
John Cena, man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, John Cena, man. But
What about Triple H?
huh?
Triple H.
I think he used to. Did he wear shorts?
No. I'm saying I thought he might have worn it like before.
He wore. Okay, so the thing is, like, I think around 2002,
Okay.
he wore like trunks that went down like here.
Cause I might just be getting
No,
like
he
one of
he
their fits
wore
mixed.
jorts,
Okay.
not in his ring attire,
Okay.
but like when he'll cut promos,
Right.
he'll wear jorts.
No, because I'm just saying like I've seen his face with jorts before. I feel like
Yeah.
okay. Because I mean I've never watched like a whole WWE fight all the way through. I'm not like a WWE fan.
Okay.
I know that you are because we were on FaceTime one time and you were like I'm watching WWE. I was like okay this guy's hardcore because like it was like 11 at night. You were just like chilling. You were like yeah I'm just on my bed watching WWE. I was like oh okay like he a real
Yeah.
fan.
Yeah.
So I remember you mentioned this to me before, but I thought you were like just like like casual. The one WWE thing that I watched was recently. It was Tyrese Halliburton. Did you see that?
Yeah, I seen that.
Yeah, Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Brunson. That's the
Yeah.
one that I watched. That's the
Yeah.
only one that I watched. And it's there were other basketball players that have been on there before, right? Like
Yeah.
that are like modern.
I forgot who it was. Oh, Trey Young.
Trae Young was on
He
there.
was on there.
Did Dennis Rodman ever do anything on there?
Man,
He would have been
Dennis,
perfect if
okay, so I don't know if you know the NWO.
I've heard of it, I think.
Dennis Rodman, he was like affiliated with them. Like it's crazy how like
Wait,
WWE,
what were they? Because I've heard of the initials, but I don't know what
the New World Order. It was like Hulk Hogan and then like
okay.
Razor Ramon, and then like they came together, created like this bad boy black and white group,
Okay.
right? And they would just go around like just tearing stuff up, bro.
Okay.
Just
So Dennis was
mixing
part of
people
that.
up. Huh?
Rodman was part of that.
Yes.
Okay.
And then like for some reason, like I don't know why, but I think like the WWE loves to combine like the NBA,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
and it's a smart,
It's promos for sure.
yeah, it's a smart
Because
business.
I wasn't watching that if it wasn't NBA in there.
It's like it's a smart business tactic.
Yeah,
So it's
for
like
sure.
that created a lot of views, especially with the Tyrese and like Jalen thing. Like, bro, putting two guys in the same building
And they played against each other
played against each other
in that same building.
like that has to be the smart.
That was crazy script writing for sure.
That is crazy.
They
That's
killed with that.
crazy script
They killed with that for sure.
So it's like shout out to Triple H for putting that together.
Was Triple H who put it together?
Yeah, he's the new CEO.
But back on fashion. Like you mentioned earlier, you're a thrifter, right? We've talked about thrifting very briefly, like before. Do you have like any like thrifting tips for me and the viewers? Because like I went thrifting like once, bro. on like a
How was your
Goodwill,
experience, man?
bro, I found nothing.
Okay.
So I was with some friends, right? And the friends were females. So like they found stuff because for some reason they had a bunch of stuff for girls. It's like I went to like the men's section, they had nothing, bro.
So what were you trying to find?
Like I don't even know, just like maybe hoodies or something. Like it was like
Okay.
March, so like it was smooth to like just like get some hoodies and like you know some cool sweats.
Mm,
I would have been okay, right?
mm. So I feel like it all depends on your personal taste. You know what I mean? Uh, for me, like when I go to Goodwill, I already know what I want.
Which one do you go to?
So I go to the one in Lansing.
Lansing, okay. Because I went to the one in Orland and Tinley. Because I was already over there.
Okay. Do
So
you know what they had?
they didn't have anything that was like for me.
Oh,
Like if it was like a bunch of polos. Not saying polos are bad, but like I'm not wearing polos out
okay.
unless it's like to like a formal event. But I already had that, so like I didn't need anymore.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, with the Goodwill that I go to, they have short sleeve sections, long sleeve sections, jackets, hoodies. It's very organized.
Organized. Yeah,
So
it was not organized. It was just like it was straight up men's. There was a row in the middle and then women's. That was literally it. And then
yeah,
they had like a little toy section too.
yeah, you got scammed, buddy.
Yeah. I know I didn't buy anything. I didn't get
Yeah.
scared. Yeah, I didn't buy anything.
Um, I would say I look for a lot of college university hoodies. I like those.
Yeah. I see you wear that Nebraska one.
Yeah, I wear the Nebraska one. I wear the Alabama one.
Is that
Also,
red?
it's like maroon.
Well, yeah, yeah, the
Yeah, the Crimson
crimson.
Tide one.
Yeah.
Um, bro, I have like 6 different college university items. I had this Notre Dame sweatshirt that I lost. I'm so mad that I lost it because it was like the perfect fit
How'd
for me.
you lose it?
I don't know. I woke up one day it was gone.
No, what?
I woke up one day it was gone, bro. I couldn't
You
find it.
didn't like leave it like at some facility?
I genuinely could not find it the next day.
That's terrible.
And I just stopped looking for it. What else? I look for baggy jeans.
Right.
Thing is, like, okay, with some of these fashion influencers, when their jeans are like baggy, they never really like tell their size, or they never really say where they got it from.
Okay, yeah.
They be gatekeeping. You know what I mean? So it's like with thrifting, it's just all for yourself. Like it's just all you're all on your own,
Right.
really. Like you have to find your own size. You have to really find your own taste. And I remember just going there. I remember finding like a lot of Columbia jackets,
Right.
Columbia sweatshirts, uh, polos, hoodies, anything I could really find. And then that was really it. Now there were some days, kind of like yours, like where I just didn't find anything.
Right, yeah.
Like obviously with the thrift is sort of like an on and off thing. Like one day you're buying 8 items.
Yeah.
You're buying everything in store because you could literally find everything. It's all catered to your taste.
Right.
But one day it's just like, bro, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So I would say my tips are probably make a mental list of what you really want. Like, what are you really looking for? And then go to the thrift, find it.
Yeah. Okay. So it's much more simple than like the TikTok influencers make it seem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like they're like thrifted. You have to find this. Like you know, like they're like you have to go hunting for this one though. Cause like
Yeah.
it took me like 5 stores to find it. I was
I
like,
would say you're gonna find probably a lot of Carhartt,
okay.
a lot of college.
I saw Carhartt, but it was like it was just like not it. I forgot what was with it, but it was just like no, it was like bad.
Yeah. You're gonna find a lot of Carhartt, a lot of college university stuff. You're gonna find a lot of extra large stuff. All the stuff that you find is like either large or extra large.
Okay.
Um, you're gonna find a lot of jorts, a lot of jeans. Some of them aren't baggy enough though. Like the thing is, like you will want to find jeans that are like wide,
Hmm.
but some of them are just straight legged. So
Okay.
they have a lot of length, but they don't have a lot of width.
With right.
So yeah, I mean, just really get what's suitable for you. Also, please, please do not like just buy something because I guess somebody else is wearing it. Like what I have on right now, like I like these jorts because they have a lot of width, especially when I stand up. I like this Essentials hoodie because I feel like it's nice fitting for me, especially this hood right here. It's very good.
Yeah.
Just a very
I heard they got good quality.
yeah, good quality hoodie. But yeah, just get what's suitable for you and get what's suitable for your liking.
For sure. Okay. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up there. Good old long episode with good old Bryce Barnett over here.
Like 2 hours.
It's like it is gonna bring it down. It's gonna bring it down like probably if not under 2 hours, it's gonna be like right at 2 hours. I feel like. But yeah, so did a good old babbling session here today.
Yes, sir.
With the one and only Bryce Barnett.
I feel like like thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, for sure.
It's great honor to just be like the first guest. Like that's crazy for me.
Yeah.
I feel like once this podcast gets big, like it's just like I'm just gonna look back on it and be like, dang.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's my twin right there. Bryce and Bryce, for real. But yeah, appreciate y'all for watching. Check out the description for his links. This episode's coming out soon, probably.
No.
Happy 4th of July, because that's gonna be before this.
Yeah.
And enjoy those good old fireworks. And stay safe. Stay tuned for the next episode. And yeah.